And welcome in, everybody, to Hoopsville. We are back on Sunday nights, and of course, we're already taking some computer issues. It wouldn't be a show without some computer issues, would it not? Hope you are well. Thanks for tuning in. We certainly enjoy your hospitality here on Sunday night. No, there's still some NFL stuff going on, but nonetheless, we are hoping you will enjoy the show. We have been off the air for a few weeks thanks to the holidays. Nothing to be all that surprised with, as we tend to do that. But we hope you will enjoy the show tonight. Got lots to talk about. Obviously, new top 25s will be coming out tomorrow on both the men's and women's sides, and there's been lots going on, though, except for the top teams. They've all continued to win. And, of course, there's other things to talk about. We were at the D3 Hoops Classic in Las Vegas, Pat Coleman, Gordon Mann, and myself, and we certainly covered a lot while there and saw a lot of games. My game count total, let's see here. I've seen a total so far of 28 men's games, and I've seen 14 women's games, and I have seen, 15, 20, 29 men's teams, and I've seen 18 women's teams so far this season. Quite a few teams, obviously, but lots to talk about. Who's doing well so far, who's maybe floundering a little bit. Tonight's guests will include those who are doing well, or at least in the conversation, or receiving some love from top 25 voters, or maybe changing the dynamic of their conferences. Lots to talk about there. You know, this is it. I mean, we are now technically into the second part of the season. The first part, 10 or so games for everybody. It kind of varies on everybody's schedule and some postponements. For example, Wesley and Cabrini cannot figure out how to play a game against each other right now. They've had some challenges, to say the least. So about 10 games each, a lot of them out of conference, some conference games. Now we kind of get into the meat of the conference schedule. Conference games have started up as early as just yesterday on Saturday, and certainly much more to go down the road. So on and so forth. Obviously, lots to talk about there. And I'd love to take your questions. If you'd like to contact us, interact with us, you can join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. We certainly encourage you to use the hashtag Hoopsville. Don't forget, you can also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, or you can join us on email, hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's D3hoops.com, and we'd love to hear from you there as well. Let's see. Here are the guests we'll have tonight. WPI Coach Chris Bartley will join us, talk about the Engineers' 10-1 start to the season, considering they're not playing with their top guard, who was lost at the beginning of the season due to surgery. We'll talk to him about the season that the Engineers are having. Of course, they're going right into NUMAC play at this point in time. It's going to be really busy for them. They've got Springfield ahead, WPI, and obviously not WPI, MIT ahead, and others. We'll talk about the NUMAC race with him. John Krikorian will represent the South region. Technically, the Christopher Newport captains are in the Capital Athletic Conference, but this year they are in the South region for one more year before they officially move into the Mid-Atlantic region. We'll talk to Coach Krikorian about his team and how they're going, and really about the conference, which the CAC is noteworthy for many reasons. We've talked about St. Mary's obviously a lot. Wesley has been a team that we have followed quite often out of the CAC. But Mary Washington has certainly made a lot of waves recently. Now you got Christopher Newport, and even Marymount is playing some good basketball. And let's not forget about Salisbury. So a lot to talk about out of that group as well. Coach Carla Berube from Tufts will join us, the number 7th ranked team in the country. The team is, I believe they're 11-0 or 10-0, double check, on the season. You know, you talk to those in the NUMAC and the rest of the Northeast, and Tufts may be the team to beat. Even those who are usually from up there battling for the NESCAC title. Tufts may be the team that everybody's really keying on. We'll talk to her about how her team has started and the good start, obviously, and how the team may fare in the NESCAC, especially against a team like Amherst. Remember, Amherst has made, 4 straight Final Fours? We'll talk to her about that. Christy Thomaskutty will be joining us from Emory. Their team off to an 11-0 start and set school record for the most consecutive victories. We'll talk to her about that. We'll also talk about the battle for the UAA, which will officially start here shortly. Obviously, Tufts traveling with that But, UAA women's basketball, you always have Wash U certainly in the mix, ranked number 2 in the country, if memory serves. I just don't have it called up in front of me. Chicago has, in a few years, has been part of the equation, though down a little bit. Rochester, again, down a little bit, has always been part of the equation. Emory is in there. Doesn't mean Brandeis, NYU, Carnegie Mellon, and the rest aren't going to be battles. So we'll talk about the UAA with her. Then we'll wrap up the show with Defiance men's basketball coach Kyle Brumett. This is a team that did lose to Hanover last night and lost to Ohio Wesleyan before that, but is on top of the HCAC right now in an interesting setup with this conference. Rose-Hulman in the last couple of years has been the darling of the conference. Transylvania has been in the equation. Transylvania is down this year. Not sure what to make of the Engineers out of Rose-Hulman. Hanover, I think, is on the brink of breaking through in this conference as well, though they've always been competitive. We'll talk to Coach Brumett about Defiance's role in the HCAC, which, of course, actually moves to the Great Lakes region next season. So lots to talk about and plenty of guests to tide you over. You're once again listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches, and I'd be behooved if I did not mention their support. We certainly appreciate the NABC. Once again, making a contribution to the show. We'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. There also may be talk, and probably will be talk on ways you can contribute to the show as well if you are so inclined. You can email me in the interim at Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. Again, Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com will be your way of communicating with us, and we'll certainly hope you will do so. Again, I see that there's a breakup on my end. I'm assuming there's breakup on your end. The audio seems okay. Not sure the reason why everything doesn't want to work cooperatively tonight. This is kind of one of the reasons we're talking about fundraising. A new computer will be ordered in the coming days. Lots of other ways of trying to get us up and running and get things going. So this is part of it. Also, we're hopefully down the road be able to give you guys, excuse me, I have a bit of a sinus cold. Give you guys ad-free streaming is our hope. And maybe even do more remotes. It's all part of our goal here at Hoopsville to try and improve this product that we provide you guys now twice a week. Remember, Sundays and Thursdays now. Sundays and Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Couple of notes. We may have a special show to kind of re-kick the season coming up later in January ahead of the big final 5 to 6 weeks of the season. The regular season, that is, of course. Also, don't forget, we'll have our special Selection Sunday show, and we'll have our special Matchup Monday show. All of those coming up in February. And, of course, we'll be marching our way to Salem and Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Salem, Virginia, on the men's side, we will take the show there once again. And, of course, Stevens Point will be monitoring, and our good friend Gordon Mann will be there on the women's side. So if you have questions for us, again, Twitter, at D3Hoopsville, or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Please don't shy away from those. We would love to hear from you. I know we've gotten a lot of requests for other guests and such out there. We will be trying to get most of these requests on in the coming weeks. If you have ideas, it's Twitter at D3Hoops, or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Also, don't forget, you can also, let's see. Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. A couple other schools of note. I know in the Mid-Atlantic region, where I'm obviously based, we got a ton of schools talking about here, and there's other schools. Just so you know, but before I get there, let me just mention, Messiah is undefeated. Dickinson's off to a great start. We mentioned Salisbury and Cabrini, Wesley, not Salisbury, I'm sorry, I meant to say St. Mary's instead of Salisbury. Mary Washington's in the equation here. Mid-Atlantic's an interesting scenario, but we will talk more about the Mid-Atlantic on Thursdays. Now that we're on 2 shows a week, Sundays and Thursdays, things change just a little bit for us. What we will be doing is having a show. Sundays, we will specifically cover the Northeast. We will now call it the Central region. While it is the Midwest region in men's for one more season, it will actually be the Central region next year. So we'll start making that move ahead of time. So the Northeast, the Central, Atlantic, and South regions are our segments for this, or those regions we specifically will focus on Sundays. We also have a segment with the Coach's Corner. Now, the Atlantic region tonight will be bypassed. We did have a guest lined up, but unfortunately could not get it to work out for us. Not a big deal. We'll get them next Sunday. Very few schools to pick out of the Atlantic region. We will try and do our best next week to do that. Thursday, Great Lakes, West, Mid-Atlantic, and East schools are what we'll focus on. Again, on Thursdays, that's Great Lakes, West, Mid-Atlantic, and East. And, of course, it's our School of the Week. If you have a nominee for School of the Week, send it via Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, or via email hoopsville at d3hoops.com, or join us on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Hoopsville. So that's kind of the basics of it all, as it were. Again, lots to talk about, as once again, my video, at least on my end, is not doing well. I hope you can at least maybe see something. You can interact with us and email us if you need to. You can also join us in the chat room, which is alongside. If you're watching on the show, it's I think it's down here on our show page. If you're on the Ustream page, it's directly alongside. Those are ways you can communicate with us. But clearly we're getting some breakup on the video, though the computer doesn't seem to be working that hard. What do I know? But the video, at least you get the audio. Really, the video is only just looking at my ugly mug. Maybe down the road, too, we will be adding video interviews with coaches. Not to the pre-taped kind, which we've been able to do, but we're going to find a way to maybe even provide those online here in this resource as well. Again, that all comes down to fundraising. You'll learn more about that in the coming weeks. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but off the top of my head, I think that's it. I mean, a lot of talk, obviously on the men's side, the top 25s, pretty good so far. Stevens Point still undefeated. Worcester took its first loss, though it lost out to one of its NAIA opponents that it took on down in Arizona. Not sure why Worcester chose to go to Arizona and, or play NAIAs instead. Of course, those games won't mean anything in Division III. Unless we go really, 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 really deep in the criterion. I still don't think that's going to matter. But Worcester did take its first loss. Will they move out of number 2 because of that? We'll see. Illinois Wesleyan still winning. They've only lost one game. Cabrini still undefeated. Again, they had a game against Wesley that was supposed to be played, I think, twice, and has now been postponed for varying reasons. I could be wrong. Wesley's also had a couple of postponements themselves, so I might be just confusing who's gotten the postponements and where. Williams, interesting start to coming off holiday break. Played 3 games, all of them close, and I don't think any of them should have been close. Grandin, Hampton, Sydney has been a team that's been in and out of the top 25, and they lost a close one with them. But just the way Williams started has got me scratching my head a little bit. I'm wondering if maybe the Eafs have lost something that I'm not aware of. It's hard to keep track of the boards, all the time, but also wondering if maybe they're just off to a rough start. Amherst lost another one, of course. That's to an NAI school as well, Nova Southeastern. St. Thomas lost another, but it was to number 1 Stevens Point, so I don't know how much they'll get dinged there. WPI number 8, we've talked about how they're off to a good start to the season. Wash U took another loss, I believe. I say that now. I have my notes here from my top 25. Here we go. Wash U, who's ranked high on the poll in my book. They're number 9 on my book, though. They are... What do I have? I have number 17. They went 3-0 and they beat Wheaton, so that's a pretty good job by Wash U. Virginia Wesleyan took a loss to Mary Washington, who we talked about. That was right after the poll had been put up. Wittenberg still going strong. Whitewater going strong. Augustana certainly going strong. St. Norbert's continues to go well. Marietta sitting 15th, having a good season, though lost another game. So they're 9-2, I believe. Calvin had another loss. It's an interesting loss. We're going to have to look into that one and see what's going on. Guilford, by the way, jumps into the top 25. 17th, they were 23rd the week before. They've now lost 3 of the last 4. They'll be out of the top 25, and now questions about the Quakers, were they overrated by many of us? Top 25 voters will certainly be raised. Christopher Newport continues to play well, as we mentioned. Now they're into that new CAC schedule. We'll talk to their coach coming up about that. Middlebury took another loss. I think this is going to have a lot of people wondering what's going on at Middlebury. Not sure if they're okay or not. I think some people are going to certainly raise questions as to what's going on at Middlebury. I know I am, at least. We'll see what happens and the answers from them. Wesley continues to win. SUNY Purchase got another big win there in the top 25. Certainly going to maybe get some more attention as a result. Eastern Connecticut did not have a good holiday break. Lost 2 of 3, including 2 to North Central and Carthage. Honestly, in my opinion, if you're a top 25 voter, you're at least beating Carthage and maybe North Central. They did not. They'll be out of the top 25. St. Mary's, who plummeted from 9 to 23 at 5-3, won 3 games and are at 8-3 now. They'll solidify their top 25 scenarios. And, of course, as well, Wheaton, Illinois. Wheaton 2-1 with that loss to WashU. That usually we'll see how the voters decide on that. And Colorado College enters the top 25, then takes another loss. We'll see how they round out. We'll talk more about the women's top 25 as well coming up, but we're going to take a break coming up. And in the next segment, we will talk to WPI's men's basketball coach Chris Bartley about his team's terrific start to the season. Again, 10-1 on the year, and playing without one of their best players. And we'll talk to him about that, and of course the matchup with the new MAC. You're listening to D3 or Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
To have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
And welcome back to Hoops. So it looks like some of the breakups actually just with the camera we're using. Interesting to note, because the video ran smoothly. So forgive all the breakup. Obviously, you don't really need to see me, but forgive it anyway. If you have any questions for us, email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. Join us in the chat room alongside the broadcast window. I know there's some of you in there tuning in. I think as a guest you can still send a message, but I'm not 100% sure. You could also just register. Join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. And you can also join us as well on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Going to go to the Hoopsville hotline, and our first guest now back on our Sunday regularly scheduled program. We'll jump up into the Northeast, and in there, number 8, WPI men's basketball coach Chris Bartley joins us. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thanks, Dave. It's great to be with you tonight.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to do so. You look at WPI, obviously a lot of expectations coming in. I think even you had said that last year you guys might have been peaking ahead of when everybody expected you to. A terrific season last year that unfortunately ended in the second round to a pretty hot Randolph-Macon squad.
Right.
You come into this season, a lot of expectations certainly, and then the news that you guys lose your top player of the season to ankle injury. Or surgery, I should say. But you guys are still rolling around at 10-1. This has got to be quite an atmosphere at WPI right now.
Well, we've got a good group of guys, and it's like I say to our guys every year. Winning is going to be hard. And in the Northeast, I think you see, we lost to Castleton State, and Amherst lost to Emerson, and Williams lost to Southern Vermont, and Middlebury got tripped up. And maybe to some of the programs that don't have the name recognition of, the Middleburys and Amherst and Williams. But I think it goes to show you that, there's a lot of balance in New England. I think you gotta bring it every single game, and you gotta play really hard and play well to get it done. So we've got a good group, and when we lost Marco, it was a blow because we didn't know it was happening until the first day of practice. So, but like our guys, really, I think took it as a challenge. I think maybe it dropped some expectations externally, about how good we could be. But our guys have found a way to sort of come together and be really competitive so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, is it almost a blessing as much as it is a curse to lose the guy that early? Because at this point now your team is what it is. You have to do what you're doing.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. I look at like with Gronkowski with the Patriots. They didn't have him in the beginning of the season, and then when they got him back, it was sort of like gravy, and then they lose him again. So they sort of had become accustomed to playing without him. So I think there is something to that. But it's like anything. I mean, every year there's going to be different challenges. Last year I think our challenge was, we were really inexperienced, but we ended up having that long winning streak, and that that was a challenge to deal with. And you're going to have your injuries throughout the course of a season, and I think how you handle those, mentally, is really, really important. And if you have a mentally tough team, I think you can weather that storm a little bit better.
Talking to Coach Chris Bartley of the WPI Engineers men's basketball team, 10-1 on the season. You mentioned the loss to Castleton State, and I think everyone kind of went, okay, that might be the game that we're going to look at and go, okay, they're going to struggle, and that's because they aren't with Marco, and you're trying out some new guys maybe in positions they aren't always playing. But then you come right back. You got a win over Tufts, which is certainly impressive. A lot of people think Tufts is going to be a pretty good squad this season. And you continue to play tough. You come back from a long break. You beat Becker. But, of course, now the meat of it is here. You got Springfield, MIT, and Babson, and even Emerson in your next 4 games. Springfield squad that is certainly in the conversation in this conference and has been for a few years. MIT, which has represented this conference pretty well nationally the last few years. Babson, which is certainly making waves at 9-2 this season. And then Emerson, as you pointed out, beat Amherst earlier in the season, is 6-4. It doesn't look easy on paper right now in this conference.
No, I mean, I've had a chance to see quite a few of the teams live, and obviously I've seen them all on film. And the thing that really impresses me is I think we've got a conference where the kids play well together. Each team seems to have a group of guys that know how to play together, and I think. In my opinion, I don't think there's a lot of difference in talent between, the top teams, going into the conference play to the, teams that might get picked lower. I mean, Clark, I think, is at 8-2 with a really young team. So, it goes back to what I was saying before. I really think, Dave, that, we're going to be an underdog, on the road virtually every one of our conference games, and that's usually the way it is. And I think the team that has the best chemistry, the team that, we have to, for us, we have to really, really play hard. We have to do all the scrappy things and defend really well. And then what we've been able to do, I think, so far offensively is just sort of, figure out how to work together to manufacture some points. I think maybe we're not a team that's going to come up with a lot of electrifying athletic plays, but we do, I think, screen and cut pretty well and know how to play with each other. So I think the team, right now, it doesn't really matter how you're playing. It's more, how it's all going to come together and where you're at, sort of down the home stretch. But, you certainly, it's why we like to take these things, as they say, one at a time, because when you lay it all out there in front of you, it scares the heck out of you,
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, let's add to the misery Clark's the 5th game of that stretch. So Springfield, MIT, Babson, Emerson, Clark. It's away, home, away, home. So at least 3 of the 5 are at home. to start this new MAC run. Before we get to your team a little bit more, you mentioned the New England aspect of things. It certainly seems a little bit maybe more wide open than usual. Obviously, the NESCAC teams always get a lot of respect, Amherst and Williams and Middlebury this season. But you also have on top of that yourselves. The new MAC looks pretty deep this year, to be sure. You've got a lot of other schools in this New England side of things that are always in the fray, but maybe raising eyebrows that we haven't seen before. How does the New England landscape look from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a truth to what you're saying. I don't know if there's, and just based on the fact that we've all taken losses, maybe there's not the team that's, a clear head and shoulders above everybody. But, I mean, I look at us and I say, if a very rational person could pick us fourth to come in fourth or fifth in our conference this year. I think the rankings right now, although it's great, we're happy to be ranked in the top 25 and all that. I think obviously with the success that we've had, over the last decade or so, we're accustomed to having that bullseye on our back, and we know that virtually every conference game we play is it's a rivalry game. So there is I think just a different atmosphere that comes to conference play, and then you throw on top of it, we had Emerson this year, and in our conference you got to play everyone home and you got to play everyone away. Yep. And I think that's that's a significant difference, and what some of the other conferences have to go through. So that, I think, adds another dimension. It's just it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot. You got to put a lot of emotion into it, I think, to succeed in this conference.
Well, I think everybody takes a note of at WPI is the youth on this squad. You have 3 seniors. One of them is one of your leading scorers. The rest are just role players, and I don't mean that negatively. I mean that in the sense that Sam Longwell, underclassman, averaging 17.5 points a game and nearly 6 rebounds a game. Then you get the senior Ryan Cobb at 15.1 and 4.6. Zach Corrales, 12.3 points a game. And then those are your double-figure guys, and you get a whole mess of other guys who are contributing on the boards and in the basket as well. And that's without, as you point out, Marco, on this team. This team is built maybe for another run or two. They're only gaining more and more experience here and playing, as you pointed out last year, I would say maybe ahead of the curve.
Yeah, no, I think there's something to that. I mean, like this team, I think it's really funny. Yesterday we're in a dogfight of a game. It's a crosstown rivalry game with Becker College. Brian Gorman does a great job with those guys, and it's a really tough game on the road. It's always tough playing there. And we've got a senior who was our manager for 3 years that was playing like the last 3 minutes of the first half, gave us a huge lift, Andrew Osei.
Yeah.
He's our manager for the first 3 years he was here. So, I mean, I think that just kind of goes to show you where I think a lunch pail type team, blue collar all the way. And, we have a lot of guys that, fit a specific role for us and help us. And in Andrew's case, he's a great communicator on the court, and we just needed that right at that time. And, so I think it's going to be that type of, scenario with this team where there'll be different guys that are going to have to, find the role that they need to play in a particular game. And then also not pigeonhole guys. And we might have some guys right now that are in a certain role, and hopefully their role will expand, as conference play goes on. And that's always exciting as a coach because, you get to see a kid, develop, So there's just a lot that can happen between now and, the end of February. But I will say this, I think we got great seniors with Ryan Kolb and Chad LeBeau and what Andrew's been able to do for us. And I think just like Sam Longwell and Zach Corrales and Aaron Davis and Dominic Mastis-Cusa, guys have been around for a couple years, 3 years. They're kind of like seniors for us, and we've got a great work ethic. The other thing with this, Dave, is, that's so impressive to me about these kids is, obviously at our level, the academic commitment that these kids are making, and then also the community service stuff. I mean, our guys are all big brothers in the Big Brother, Big Sister organization, and sometimes I just, I stop and I say to myself, you know what, like, we're really pushing these guys and demanding a lot out of them basketball-wise, and then look at all the other stuff that they're doing, and it just, makes me really proud to coach these guys. We've got a great group of kids.
Osei just spent 3 years studying the playbook. No wonder he's playing well. That's outstanding, coming off the bench to contribute in that way. Obviously, WPI getting the ranking that they have now, getting the attention they got last year. Certainly, you've always had good programs. I think, 10 straight 20-win seasons? You're marching your way to an 11th straight. It's not like you don't always have good programs. But the notoriety across the country certainly is now more present than it has been. What's that like in Worcester, Mass? What's that like in your region now that the men's basketball team and obviously other sports as well is kind of starting to garner that kind of national attention that usually has been stolen away by the NESCAC schools or schools that aren't even in your region?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I think, it's brought a lot of attention to, our conference as well, the NEWMAC, and I think, MIT making that run to the Final Four a couple years ago was really important for our conference as well. But it's great. I mean, I think we all, deep down, our goal is to win a national championship. And, I remember talking to Dave Hickson a few years ago when we were playing him in the NCAAs, and, I was saying, we knock on the door a lot, but we haven't been able to take that next jump. And he was like, hey, listen, it took me about 25 years before we made a Final Four or something, and it kind of put it in perspective to me, but I think one of the things that I'm most proud of with our program and, what we do at WPI is the consistency over the last, decade of winning, every year. I think it's really hard to, find a lot of programs that maintain that, level of success consistently. And I got to tell you, it really boils down to, the work ethic of the kids that we have in the program. So, as they say, it's like, it's the Jims and Joes, not the X's and O's. I tell you what, and having guys that, want to get better every year and want to keep pushing themselves, and take the coaching and are coachable guys like we have, it just makes it a lot of fun. So, we're hoping to, just keep getting better, really, focus on this Springfield game because I know Coach Brock, I call him the godfather of the NEWMAC.
He cringes every time he hears that.
Yeah, and, I mean, they've got a point guard, Sean Martin, who's, I think he's one of the best point guards in New England, if not the Northeast. I mean, he's just an incredible player. And, they got the kid Robbie Burke back, and then the big kid Swenson inside is just a beast, really almost impossible to stop. So, and then they got a ton of really good, smart guys that can put it in the basket and pass it, like Sinkowitz. And, they just got a really balanced team. So, Babson is loaded. They've got a transfer from Trinity who's really good, Eric Dean, and this kid Flannery is, I think let the world on, just been on fire since he walked in the door, I think getting 25 a game or so. So there's going to be a lot of challenges, and everyone's kind of forgets about MIT because they graduated Tashman and Cates, but, they got a ton of talent on that team and a ton of size. So it's just exciting, and we're happy to be part of a great conference, and hopefully we represent it well.
Have you gotten a burger anytime recent at your favorite burger place in Boston?
Yeah, Mr. Bartley's Burger Cottage, located on 1246 Mass Ave in Cambridge. Not that I would plug the place.
Nicely done, sir.
Yeah, not bad, right? So, my brother said that if you go into Bartley's Burgers, right across from Harvard Yard, and you wear a WPI men's basketball shirt, or you paint your face crimson, you can get a free burger if you tell him that Dave McHugh.
Oh, is that what he's saying? Wasn't there a burger supposed to be named after you?
What's that?
Wasn't there a burger supposed to be named after you?
No, it was supposed to be the Rusty Egan. Rusty Egan.
Has it happened? Because I'm on the menu. I don't see it.
No, my brother said because we got knocked out in the second round of the NCAAs, no burgers for us.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah, well, my brother is cold.
Well, if we're going to be dropping my name to get free burgers, I'm going to have to call him and make sure there's a Rusty Egan burger.
I'll do my best for you.
Nice. Mr. Bartley's, it's one of those places it's on my checklist of diners, DDD places that I want to go to. When I'm up in Boston, that'll be my next stop. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate it. 10-1 overall. Obviously, about to head into conference play and probably playing the top 5 toughest teams in the conference to start. Springfield, MIT, Babson, Emerson, and Clark. Appreciate it as always. As always, as you probably remember, we give our guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Yeah, I did actually. I got some news yesterday right before our game that one of my former when I was an assistant coach at Medford High School, and Gene Bain, who played for me and assisted me at WPI. He played at Northeastern and then came over and coached with us at WPI. He's now an assistant at Dartmouth. He had a major health scare yesterday, or 2 days ago at their practice at Dartmouth College, but he's okay. And I told him that I was going to be on tonight, so if Gene, you're listening, I hope you feel better, buddy. And take care of yourself, and we love you, okay, Gino?
Very good. Perfect last word, and I convey my sentiments as well. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the season. We'll keep an eye on the Engineers, certainly, maybe moving up the polls, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in the NUMAC and maybe even into the March Madness.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Bye now.
Bye. Chris Bartley joining us here on Hoopsville. Appreciate him taking the time to do so. Again, Mr. Bartley's Burgers, his brother's place. I think the SID at WPI is being robbed. I think he's being robbed. Rusty Egan deserves a burger, and he took the burger off because I'm just devastated. Rusty, if you're listening, and I suspect you are, I feel for you, man. I feel for you. But if you can drop my name and get a free burger, that is outstanding. If not, I'll have to check that place out. I got to make a trip to Boston and catch some games. I got to figure out when I can do that. Well, that's going to do it for that segment. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump down into the South region and talk to another great coach, John Krikorian at Christopher Newport. Talk to him about his team's good start this year, as well as the challenges they face now entering the Capital Athletic Conference for the first time. I do know that the video is breaking up. I believe it's camera issues, as our commercials seem to run with no problems whatsoever. So we appreciate you holding out tight on that, and we apologize in advance for any of the problems there. We'll certainly be working on this in the coming weeks as we look to get a brand new computer, thanks in part to the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We're going to take a break. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the aforementioned National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're having a great January 5th evening. I should have said at the top of the show, I hope you had a wonderful holidays, but especially Happy New Year to everybody, as we are almost exactly midway through the through the 2013-14 season. Obviously, we're done with a lot of the non-conference side of things and entering conference play. Certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Sunday as we're back on the air. First Sunday show of the season, as we will be Sundays and Thursdays the rest of the year. 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern Time is your assignment, and we certainly will look forward to hearing from you. In many ways to look forward to hearing from you on those shows and being a part of the show. Can you communicate with us either in the chat room alongside via email, hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also go to Twitter @D3Hoopsville or #Hoopsville. You can also go to Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Heard from Rusty Egan, the SID at WPI, who I have determined has been robbed of his burger. He says he's fine without a burger name if they get a few more wins in case. Rusty Egan asking if it would be called the Rusty Burger. I like Rusty Burger versus Rusty Egan Burger. Rusty Burger. I want to know what was on the Rusty Burger, Rusty. So let me know what it was supposed to be made of, and then we will contact. I'm going to do my best to contact Mr. Bartley at Mr. Bartley's Gourmet Burgers and find out why you have been robbed, sir, of your burger. You should not be part and parcel with the men's basketball team running into a hot Randolph-Macon team last year. That's just my thoughts on it again. Let me know. I want to know what was on the burger. That's what I really want to know. All right, we're going to spend a little less time chit-chatting and get right back to the Hoopsville hotline. And joining us there from technically the South region is Coach John Krikorian for number 18, Christopher Newport. Team is off to a 10-1 start. And, Coach, I say technically because you're now into the CAC, which brings you up into the Mid-Atlantic. You're in the South region this year for regional rankings. Next year you'll move into the Mid-Atlantic. I'm sure you're thoroughly enjoying the season.
Yeah, we're off to a great start. I'm not sure if you looked at our statistics, you would think that we would be a 10-1 team, but our group so far our motto has been to just find a way. So, we've been able to do that so far, and it's been enjoyable, mostly because of the character and work ethic of our players.
Team 10-1, as you mentioned, 7-game winning streak. You now will have jumped into CAC play. We'll talk about that. The one loss coming to Emory, that was at home, 92-90. You had played York of New York the night before and escaped with a 6-point win there. Other way, you beat Randolph-Macon in your usual rivalry game by 1. And then you entered conference play, but you also beat Virginia Wesleyan. It seems like a pretty solid season. Of course, you get your big next test coming up here on Wednesday when you'll take on Wesley. You point out awfully good start, though the stats don't always tell the truth on that. From that point of view, what are you guys trying to work on? What are you trying to improve? What do you think this team needs to do to get over the hump? And especially as you enter the CAC with the likes of St. Mary's and Wesley and now Mary Washington and Marymount and Salisbury all playing well.
You're gonna laugh. I mean, everything.
You're right. I am laughing.
we have, man. We just have so much room for growth. I mean, if you look at our roster, we're a very young team. We do have an exceptional senior and another senior, and Mike Cherry's a junior. But everybody else is a freshman and a sophomore, and we are not the defensive team we've been over the last 3 years yet. We are not executing offensively as well as we have. We're not shooting the ball as nearly as well as we're capable, and I'm just scratching my head. But no matter who we go to play, these guys believe that they can win the game, and we hang around long enough, and these guys pull it out at the end. For us to go into Randolph-Macon and Virginia Wesleyan this year on the road and come out of there with wins, these guys are showing us something, and it's exciting because we feel we have just such a much higher ceiling the rest of the way, although the competition doesn't certainly get any easier, as you talked about.
Well, you only have 2 seniors on this squad. You did lose quite a bit from last year. Trey Benefield, who's leading the team in scoring, and, of course, Luke Antonagan. I can say that if I wasn't looking at it. Nana? Antingnana. Thank you. I'm still not going to get it right. Yeah, I'm just going to call him Luke. Benefield leading the team 19.2 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. Mike Cherry contributing 15-plus points a game. Thorpe at 10 points roughly a game. La Framboise?
La Framboise.
You know what? I'm going to give up on your team. Nearly 9 points a game. You've got a lot of contributors with just one senior essentially leading the way. Luke's in there at nearly 5 points a game. What does that mean to you, not only this season, but down the road?
Yeah, well, certainly we've been, since I got here, we've been trying to, develop our style and our way and our culture. And, Trey Benefield came in the door with me to do that. And it's just so rewarding to see him be our leader in terms of everything, on the court, off the court, the locker room, the social aspect. I mean, he is our leader, and he's an extension of me. And, we feel that this is not a situation where when he graduates, we're going to go, oh, my God, we think he is, going to have a great senior campaign. Hopefully, our whole team will have a great season, and then he'll graduate. And then, the next man up will fill that role, and we've hopefully built something that can sustain itself, just because of the way, these guys approach the game and our culture. And it's been really rewarding to see that in my fourth year, and to see Trey take on that role as a leader. And so we're squarely focused on this year. I mean, we're squarely focused on Wesley on Wednesday. I mean, I'm telling you, Chris Bartley and you were talking about the next 5 games. I had to look at my schedule. I have no idea who we play after Wednesday.
Penn State Harrisburg, Coach. Penn State Harrisburg.
Yeah, no disrespect to anybody else, but I mean that's how just where we're at this point. And so we're squarely focused on Trey's senior year and Luke's, and but we are excited about the growth and development of our younger players, and where we continue to go with this thing.
Talking to Coach John Krikorian here of Christopher Newport. The captains are 10-1 on the season, 2-0 in the Capital Athletic Conference, which gets me into that thought. You leave the USA South. You're now in the CAC. You're still in the South region for one more year. Then you'll be officially moved by the NCAA into the Mid-Atlantic region. Of course, you join the conference along with Penn State Harrisburg and Southern Virginia. Those two schools, though, not technically eligible for championships, but that's beside the point. You guys are 10-1 overall, tied with Mary Washington for the best record. St. Mary's sitting behind you at 8-3. This is overall record we're talking about. Then Wesley at 8-1. Marymount has made waves at 8-3. They're back behind you. Mary Washington's 4-0 to start the season. You're 2-0. St. Mary's 3-1. Wesley 2-1. Marymount is 1-2 though, making waves. You enter a very different conference. You enter a very different travel schedule in some cases. And I think you and I talked last year about making this move, and you were looking forward to actually shorter travel, though Christopher Newport to Frostburg State is anything but short, or I should say easy. It's trying. How are you guys adapted so far on what has been a quick trip to Southern Virginia, a long trip to York of Pennsylvania, a medium trip to Salisbury, the long, grueling trip Frostburg had to come to you, though? How have you adjusted so far?
Yeah, no, I laugh because talking to some of the other coaches in the league, they're like, hey, oh, man, we got a little more travel in this league, so they're working it out. But for us, it's night and day how much less travel we have, and the schedule conforming to the academic schedule. It's just been great. It's been great, and a 4 or 5 hour trip, and our longest will be 5.5. I mean, we took a road trip last year to play one game to Maryville, which was 9 hours. And then we took another, we flew to Atlanta to play LaGrange, which is an hour south of Atlanta, for one game. And then we flew back. That was a 3-day excursion. So to get on the road and go to Penn State Harrisburg next weekend and leave on Friday and, stay in a hotel Friday night, wake up and play, like, we'll be home Saturday night, like, that's nothing. That's nothing. So that's where our mindset is. We have, we're just appreciative that we can get in a bus and get where we got to go, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. Yeah. That's probably the one difference is we're going north instead of south.
Yeah, you're entering more likely bad weather than you are heading south.
So that's that could get a little hairy, I guess. But no, man, we're the last thing we're thinking about is any kind of travel issues.
But how much do things change in the sense that you are now entering a conference that has a lot more competitive top side? I mean, we mentioned Mary Washington, St. Mary's, Wesley, all having good seasons this year. Marymount seems to be at least coming around the corner. Salisbury has certainly been playing well, though they haven't had a great stretch recently. Who knows what, York is a few years removed from a good year. They're struggling right now, but you got 5 schools there, and counting yourselves, that are on top of this conference. We could have 4 of them ranked in the top 25 possibly next week, or this week, I should say.
Yeah, I think we will, and it's
that's different
daunting.
For you guys.
Yeah, we knew coming into the league that it was already a very, very good men's basketball league, along with a lot of other sports. We believed with our addition it would be even better, and it's proving, to be the case. And, I guess like some of the top Division I conferences, my belief is that, in the USA South most years, no disrespect to those programs, players, or coaches, but in most years it was a one-bid league. And, going into the Capital, my hope all along was that we are going to have 4 or 5 teams ranked in the top 25 that are competing, and it's going to make us better. It's going to raise the level of play. It's going to hopefully increase our ability to recruit, and hopefully it will be recognized, by the committee come at the end of the year, so that we can get 2 or even 3 or even 4, which I think the ODAC did last year, 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. So that just makes for a stronger league. And while I'm scared to death, well, not scared, but the thought of us playing 6 or 7 top 25 games over the next 6 weeks, like Chris said on the show prior, we can't even think about that. We have 1 ranked team we're playing on Wednesday, and we're going to do the best we can, and then we got to go from there. And likely all of us are going to beat each other up a little bit, but I think make us all a lot better, too, come the end of February.
It's certainly going to be a fascinating conference tournament to watch this season, to be sure. Chris,
if there's anybody still standing at that point.
Right, exactly. No one's throwing up the mercy flag. Again, Christopher Newport, 10-1, talking to Coach Krikorian here. Coach, I made the executive decision before the show, as we do a coach's corner, to maybe throw you into the fire. So to make you the Coach's Corner segment presented by the National Association of Basketball Coaches, if you don't mind us having a little fun, I came up with some questions last year at about this time for the Coach's Corner that we wanted to have as part of the segment. If you don't mind, we'd love to have a little fun with you with them.
Yeah, well, I do mind, number 1, but I'll do it anyway. And then number 2, last year you gave me some warnings, so I had my assistant coach in the office next door feeding me all the fast facts as you were throwing them out at me.
Yeah, that was School of the Week. This is very different.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you're not going to... These are about you.
Oh, good, all right.
They're not trivia questions. They're just us getting to know you a little bit better. And now that I know that you had an assistant feeding you answers, I'm rather disappointed in Coach Krikorian. And now there's an assistant throwing his hands up in the air, realizing he can't help you. All right, so just some quick questions. They don't have to be, just whatever comes to the top of your head, and just get, don't have to be in depth. Just your thoughts on it. So first and foremost, what's the best part of coaching in Division III?
The players playing for the love of the game. That's it. They don't get paid. They don't get a whole lot of anything. They are here paying to go to school to get an education, and then putting forth, in many cases, the same effort as Division I and II players, just not to go to the NBA, but just because they absolutely love to play. That's incredibly rewarding.
Cool. What's your biggest pet peeve as a coach?
Poor body language by players. When players put their head down after a mistake, or mope on the court, or we got people in far worse situations than a guy who makes a turnover. Suck it up, make the next play, let's move on.
Oh, interesting. Okay. What rule or nuance of the game do you really love? That's
a great question. It's got to be the 3-point shot. For a guy like me, I'm a 5'6" point guard. If it wasn't for the three, I don't know that I'd ever score it. So
you're out feeling like you're contributing to the game more. What rule would you like to see either changed or completely removed from the game?
The offensive goaltending.
Really?
Yeah, let's go. Let's get up there. If the ball hits the rim, it's alive. Let's go. Let's go get it.
Even a defender?
What's that? Even
if it's a defender?
Sure. Just like the European game.
So get rid of the goaltending rule, basically.
Once it hits the rim.
Okay. Let's see here. What do you know you could tell a ref that will get your point across, but you won't earn a technical?
So I'm not real good in this area, Dave. If you've seen us play, this is one of the things I have not mastered in my career, is what to say to officials without them being offended. What do I feel is safe? You're a better official than that call.
Okay.
That?
All right,
Sometimes
that's good.
I'll go with that.
All right. If your wife or a friend of yours is watching you coach, or do watch you coach, what do they wish you would change on the bench? Or, you as a coach on the bench during a game.
What would they like to see changed?
Yeah.
They'd probably like me to sit down at some point during the game.
Take a load off. If your assistants were asked the exact same question from their point of view, what would they want to see you change?
Probably to never communicate with them.
Interesting. Okay. And finally, when you retire, we would presume you will retire at some point in time. What do you hope people will remember you as a coach?
I hope that they will remember that I cared very, very deeply about every player that put on the uniform and played for me.
Very nice. Well done. See, it wasn't that hard, Coach.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Hey, Coach, appreciate you taking the time to join us again. Team off to a 10-1 start, 2-0 in the Capital Athletic Conference. First and foremost, I should have said welcome to the CAC. And next year, we'll say welcome to the Mid-Atlantic region officially. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who might be tuning in?
There you go. See, I was thinking about this, and you even gave me warning, and I got the best I can come up with is that I couldn't stop listening to Chris Bartley. He's just one of the classiest guys in the world. So I want to wish WPI, which happens to be my sister and brother-in-law's alma mater, and you might not know this, but I'm a Worcester guy.
Yeah, I knew the Worcester part.
So I can throw the accent out there, but I won't. And I just throw it out there. I got great respect for WPI, and we're always watching them, and I wish them all the best going forward.
Very good. Well, thank you, Coach, for taking the time to join us. I certainly appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the season. I'm hoping I can maybe bump into you maybe somewhere down the road in your CAC schedule. If not, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on you.
Sounds great. We're hopeful to be talking to you later in February.
Well, so. That's good to hear. That's a good goal.
All right.
Take care.
Lot,
yep, take care, Coach.
You too. Bye.
Bye. John Krikorian joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Appreciate him taking the time. If you're wondering why we're having video breakup, it's apparently the camera and the computer not communicating very well with each other. The program, I think, is fine. I have heard that maybe the audio and video may be coming and going. If that is the case, let me know. If it is not the case, we'll just move on anyway. Got lots of other guests coming up in the next hour. We certainly will take your questions as well. Don't forget, join us. Our email is at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. You can also IM us at hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM. Sorry, you cannot do that. It's the first time I've slipped up on that in a while. We have discontinued that aspect. By the way, I should have mentioned Coach Krikorian was listening in. His old former player was tuning in to the show. Someone at Scouts Focus in North Carolina tuning in. Appreciate him taking the time to do so, and we hope you will do so as well. He communicated to us via Twitter. You can do that at D3Hoopsville or the hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Plenty more to talk about tonight. Certainly more to dive into, as it were. and people to talk to and all that fun stuff. If you have questions for us, communicate with us. We'd love to hear from you. If not, we will continue on with our questions as it was. Scott's Focus, Coach K question. Sorry, Scotts, I just saw you. You should have just fired that question off, my man. I would have fired it off too. Terribly sorry. Just saw him in the chat room there. We'll get them next time. If you want, email them to me. We'll ask questions. We'll try and find everybody where they have questions and get them answered. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to jump into some women's basketball with some of the top teams in the country. Number 7, Tufts will be on the show. Their head coach, Carla Berube, will join us, talk about the team start and why. I've actually heard from some NESCAC coaches, including one of the top coaches in the league, saying Tufts may be the team to beat in the NESCAC. Also jump down into Atlanta. Christy Thomaskutty will be joining us from Emory. She'll talk to us about her team and how they're off to one of the best starts, if not the best start in their program's history. And then we'll jump back to men's basketball in the next hour. We'll jump into the HCAC conference and Defiance, talk to Kyle Brumett. While Defiance may be in Ohio, we'll be talking Midwest basketball from afar with him. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. When we come back, more Hoopsville. We'll be back right after this.
Division III allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Choosing a Division III school, I've had the opportunity to develop my leadership skills and to be more involved on campus.
Division III in athletics, affords students the opportunity not only to participate in intercollegiate athletics at a competitive level, but also gives them the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport and outside of the academics on the campus.
And to have opportunity to have time to join clubs and being able to play basketball, it allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're having a good evening here on January 5th as we start off our Sunday schedule back here on Hoopsville. We have officially jumped into our Thursday schedule for the first time this year. Beginning of the year, we were always on Thursdays from 7 to 9. Now we add our Sunday schedule from 7 to 9 as well. So Sundays and Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern from now until we crown a champion in both men's and women's basketball. We hope you'll enjoy or follow us along throughout the season. Don't forget, you can join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us via Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. You can email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Those are your 3 main social avenues. When we're on the air, there is a chat room alongside the show. Certainly want you to take advantage of that if you can as well. We'll try and answer your questions, though I did miss one from Scouts Focus. I'm terribly sorry for that, my friend. We will try and work on that. I know there's a few in there who have registered to ask questions. Please don't be afraid to do so. Of course, there's guests in there. You may be able to ask questions as a guest. I'm not 100% sure because I honestly cannot remember. But in the meantime, check it out anyway, and we'll figure it out. You can let me know if it doesn't work is what I'm trying to get at. So quick bit of business. We have our other coach on the line ready to go, but a quick bit of business. Don't forget, on Sundays, we talk about 4 main regions, Northeast, Central. We're calling it Central now, not just Midwest, because women is Central and the men's region will be changed to the name Central next year. So Northeast, Central, Atlantic, and South regions are our 4 primary, though we will be missing out on the Atlantic region this week. We weren't able to get the guests we were looking for, and I didn't have time to find another one. On Thursdays, we primarily talk about the Great Lakes, the West, the Mid-Atlantic, and the East. We also have our School of the Week. Please let us know if you have any ideas on the School of the Week, and we will try and get them on the show as well. So that's some business that we wanted to take care of. Now let's go back to the Hoopsville hotline, and joining us on the phone is Tufts women's basketball coach Carla Berube, the 7th-ranked women's basketball team, is 10-0 on the season and about to enter conference play in, about 7 days to be exact. And, Coach, welcome back to Hoopsville.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. I should say you're back in 7 days. I'm right about this. Sorry. As I look at the calendar, 10-0 start on the season. Certainly a terrific way to start the year with a program that I think a lot of people have been keeping an eye on. The Jumbos, I know, have certainly gotten a lot of attention over the years, having won 23 games 2 years ago, 25 games a year before that. Of course, honestly, you haven't had a bad season in a long time, but of course you're stuck in the NESCAC, and I don't mean that negatively. I just mean it's a battle in this conference. Right now we look at it, Williams is 12-0, Amherst 10-0, you're 10-0, Bowdoin is 11-1, and, oh, by the way, Wesleyan is sitting there at 8-3. It looks like you guys have one heck of a season lined up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. The NESCAC is very challenging. There's a lot of teams that are competitive pretty much throughout the conference. So every game is a battle, and we do have Bridgewater State coming up on Tuesday, and then we enter play in the NESCAC with Middlebury up at Middlebury, which is not an easy place to play after a long bus trip up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, everything's a long trip somewhat in the NESCAC. Granted, a trip to Bowdoin isn't as brutal for you guys as it may be for others, but you got to go all the way out to upstate New York to play Hamilton, of course Middlebury in there as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's quickly talk about the season so far. A win over Rochester at their place, certainly a good start to the season. You have a win over Brandeis. You played a number of the New England schools and had some good results, including out to New York again to play Hartwick, which may be harder to get to than Hamilton. And then you beat Regis just recently. You got Bridgewater State ahead of you in a game before you get into conference play. What was the mentality with the out-of-conference schedule?
Yeah, I thought it would be a great challenge for my team to go out to Rochester to start the season, playing a very good Baldwin Wallace team to start, and then Rochester, in their home gym, and they were two really tough challenges, and it showed just what kind of fight we have in winning those games, and after those two games, we've had some other tough non-conference games like a Brandeis, like a Hartwick, a Clark, and and so far so good. It's definitely a work in progress, and we hope to be peaking at the end of the season in the NESCAC tournament. So we're still working, and we've only gotten to one or two rest stops so far on the way, up the mountain. Yeah.
Well, you talk about the NESCAC, and we obviously talked about it at the beginning. You're going to start the conference schedule, as you point, with that long trip to Middlebury. Then you have Amherst, Trinity, Emmanuel in non-conference play, and Bates in conference play in a stretch of 4 games at home before you get a really tough stretch of 5. Connecticut College, Wesleyan, Rhode Island College in non-conference play, Hamilton and Williams in all on the road before you then take on Babson, Colby, and Bowdoin at home. Kind of a back and forth in your schedule here. You kind of get into a groove with home games, then you're going to get out of the groove with away games, and you're going to get back into another groove with home games. How are you planning, and I know it's well down the road, how are you trying to prepare your team for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we go out to Hartwick, we go out to Rochester. Hopefully it doesn't matter, what gym we're playing in, that we're still going to play the same way, we play every day in practice and in home games. And I'll tell you what, I think we're pretty excited that we're not going to the Frack Gymnasium out in Amherst. So that'll be fun to play them, on our home court this year.
You already have a win against Hartwick back on the 30th, 66-51. How does that kind of game prepare you for the Hamiltons? How does that kind of game prepare you for the Amhersts and the Middleburys and even the Bowdoins? I mean, Hartwick's a pretty good team there.
Yeah, they just beat Ithaca the other day, and it was a good test. Driving through a snowstorm to get there was a test in itself, and then playing them on their home court. It gets you ready, and I wanted my team to get ready for the tough and grueling NESCAC season. And it's going to be tough, and it's not just Bowdoin and Williams and Amherst and Tufts this year. I think it's it's going to be tough from top to bottom, and that's fun. We want to be challenged and play really tough teams, and that's why we schedule who we schedule in the preseason.
When you look, you mentioned it may be a lot more other schools. I've already talked to a few NESCAC coaches. GP Gromacki, actually ran into him in Vegas. He talks highly about this Jumbos program. He thinks you guys and Williams certainly are going to be the class of this league. Do you think you're in a position where you can win this conference title? I mean, obviously you've made the NCAA tournaments quite a bit coming out of there without it, but do you think you can win a NESCAC title this year?
I hope so. That's the goal, and I like where we're at right now. I like the personnel we have. I like the leadership, the experienced players, and how they're helping along the underclassmen, and so I do think that it's definitely possible. I'm sure GP is just saying that, but he's been the top of the league for a while now, and someone's got to knock them off at some point, and hopefully it's us this year, and we'll just keep getting prepared, for that NESCAC tournament, for hopefully an NCAA run, and cliche or not, it is one game at a time, and we're not looking too far ahead, but know that every game is a step in that right direction.
Let's look at your team specifically. You've got 3 seniors on this squad, but a lot of the contributors are non-seniors, which is always a scary proposition when you look at a roster when it's underclassmen who are leading the way, not only for this season but down the road. But Haley Canner, 12.7 points a game, nearly 5 rebounds a game, 31 blocks, by the way, to lead the team. That's outstanding. Hannah Foley, 10 points a game, 7 rebounds a game. You also have Michaela North, 8.7 points a game, 8.1 rebounds a game. I mean, that's some serious contributions from those 3. And then we get to the senior and Liz Moynihan, 7.8 points a game, 3.1 rebounds a game, shoots pretty well, especially from deep. We should mention Foley shoots well from deep as well. Seems like not only an underclassmen helped squad, it looks like a deep squad. It looks like you're getting contributions from a lot of different people at a lot of different times.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's a great group of underclassmen. It's a great junior class that puts up a lot of stats. But our senior class has been awesome with leadership, and just the little things that they bring, to the court and to the team every single day, that might not be seen on the stat sheet, but that mean a lot to our program. But yeah, it's nice to have some underclassmen that are contributing a lot, and I think it's a pretty well balanced team as well. Both being able to score from the outside, and then with Haley and Michaela and a couple other post players inside, that balance will hopefully take us a long way.
You're outscoring your opponents by more than 20 points. You're shooting 42% or 41% from the floor, 31% from beyond the arc, nearly 70% from the free throw line, out rebounding your opponents by about 6. You're turning over the ball far less than your opponents and have a plus side on the assist to turnover ratio. A lot of blocks, a lot of steals. It seems like everything's clicking. But if you were to pick out things that you guys need to work on as you get ready to play one more non-conference game before starting NESCAC play, what do you think this team needs to work on?
I don't think we have enough time, but the defense is a work in progress. We're definitely giving up more points than we have in recent years, but we're putting up more points. So it balances itself out. But the defense and also the rebounding, I think we should be out rebounding our opponents more than just 6 rebounds a game. So those 2 things definitely need work. And they're committed. I know that they want to get better every day and get better at those 2 things.
Of course, you've made the NCAA tournament for the last 5 years. It's funny to hear you say you're giving up more points. You're not even giving up 50 points a game this year, though you're scoring more than 70 a game, so certainly a big difference there. Evolutionarily wise with this program, you've made the Sweet 16 before. you'd like to get back to that Elite Eight, which you guys made in 2008. How do you take that step? Is it a confidence thing? Obviously, there's matchups at play here, so I don't want to. It's maybe a loaded question to some extent, but is it a mentality thing, or is it just a matter of X's and O's?
I think it's now players that are experienced in those big games. Yeah, it's definitely X's and O's, and it's definitely a bit of who you're matched up against. And we had Amherst in the Sweet 16 last year in Lafrac, and that's no easy task. And then the year before was a very good St. Thomas team that we came up against. So. I think my team has put a lot of work in and time in the gym over the summer, in the preseason, and there's a hunger and a fire inside of them that they really want to get back to where we were last year, and to now move forward and hopefully get to Wisconsin, to Stevens Point, and that's the goal. And so we're gonna work really hard. Our staff's gonna work, and our team's gonna work, and it's also that elusive NESCAC championship that we're really after as well. But I think, like I said, I think it's a work in progress, but I think we're right on the right page right now.
If I were to put you on the spot and say, okay, who comes out on top of the conference before the tournament? I just mean regular season. And you can say yourselves if you want, but who do you think's got the target on their back as a team that can probably be the number one seed in the tournament?
Well, I think the target's going to be Amherst until they get knocked off, no doubt. And Williams had a really great run as well, so they're right behind Amherst, and I'm sure we have a target on our backs with the people that we have returning for our team, and we talk about that a lot, that we have to show up and give our best effort every single game because we do have that target. So it's tough. I think us giving up 49 points already and scoring close to 70 points, we haven't hit the NESCAC season yet. That's when the real tough defense, comes, and we'll be seeing that from everyone.
Wrapping things up here with Coach Carla Berube from the Tufts Jumbos, number 7th ranked team, I should say, in the latest D3Hoops.com poll. How much do those rankings get noticed by the players? How much of that is noticed by the community? How much is it maybe a distraction?
It's nothing that we talk about. I'm sure they know they're the 7th ranked team in the country. I think it's great for recruiting. I think it's great for the community. I think it's great for Tufts. But it's nothing that we are resting on. There's a lot to accomplish, and we're gonna keep fighting.
The New England region as a whole, obviously not a lot of shakeup when we have regional realignment officially go into place next year. Anything you would want to change in that region, or is it great the way it is? What do you New England's full of good teams, at the same time kind of helps force you guys to kind of beat each other up? Yeah,
I have no problem with it. I like the way it is, but it's not in my hands. It's a really strong region, and we get many of at-large bids out of this region, which has been beneficial to us. And so I like the way it is now.
10-0. Can this team remain undefeated, or is the NESCAC going to kind of beat everybody up a little bit?
I believe there'll be some beating up. I don't know if anybody can stay undefeated with the great teams that we have in the competitive battles that we have every Friday, Saturday.
How much has it changed? How much more competitive maybe has it become? And can you pinpoint where that change happened?
Probably about 5 years ago. I think there were 5 NESCAC teams that made the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
That was, kind of unheard of, and I think about that time is when just the NESCAC flourished, and they got some tremendous student athletes, and the teams got better, and the coaching got better, and it's a great league to coach in, and tremendous, student athletes that I have, but I also see around the league, and it's great to see how well we've done as a conference.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, Coach Berube, again from Tufts. Number 7th ranked team in the D3Hoops.com poll. Of course, everything changes tomorrow when the new poll will come out. We'll see where Tufts is sitting, still undefeated out of the Northeast region and the NESCAC. Coach, appreciate you taking the time to join us. As always, I give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Yeah, just want to give a shout out to one of my players' dads who had a brain tumor during the month of December, but found out it's benign and he's doing really well. And,
wonderful.
And we've been thinking about him a lot, and so just wanted to give him and his family a shout out.
Absolutely. Terrific. Good news to hear from that side of things. Wish him the best as well. Coach, thanks again. Wish your team the best as you guys move forward. We'll certainly keep an eye on the Jumbos and look forward to seeing how you guys do in the NESCAC.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Coach Carla Berube joining us from Tufts. Certainly appreciate her taking the time to do that. Got a little bit more to cover tonight. Before our final two guests, Coach Christy Thomaskutty will be joining us on the phone, Emory's women's basketball coach. They're also off to a terrific start at 11-0. And then Kyle Brumett from Defiance on the men's basketball side will be joining us. A lot of you listening in tonight certainly appreciate it. Our first Sunday show of the season. We will now be on Sundays and Thursdays from now on, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We certainly hope you will take the time to join us. On Sundays, we primarily focus on the Northeast, the Atlantic, and the South regions, along with the Midwest/Central. We'll start calling it the Central region, as next year the men's basketball will be officially called Central to line up with absolutely everybody else. And then on the Thursdays, it's Great Lakes, West, Mid-Atlantic, and East regions. By the way, Coach's Corner, we also feature on Sundays. On Thursdays, School of the Week. If you'd like to nominate a school you think is worthy of School of the Week, and the School of the Week is not somebody who we talk to all the time. It is a school we don't normally hear from or have not talked to before, but have a reason to talk to, whether it's a huge win like a Caltech a few years ago or an unbelievable season so far. Let us know. We would certainly love to feature them, but we want to hear your nominations. You can nominate via email, hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also nominate via Twitter @d3hoopsville or #Hoopsville, and you can join us on Facebook and nominate there too, Hoopsville at our Facebook.com/Hoopsville. If you don't mind, I'm going to do a quick rant here. It's going to be off the cuff. Normally we write these out, but to be honest with you, sometimes we just don't have time. And from now on, when we normally blog them, I have something written, but from now on, I'm actually just going to kind of highlight this little segment and put it in there. Tonight's one kind of comes out of left field a little bit. I didn't really have a rant until I started discussing some of the things that took place at the D3 Hoops Classic in Vegas recently. And one of the things I always hear from people is they want refs late in games in any sport, we should mention, to swallow the whistle and let the players decide the game. And I'm starting to have a real problem with this because apparently a foul that people are screaming about in the first 35 minutes of a game shouldn't be a foul in the last 5. Or a certain mentality of officiating in the first 35 minutes shouldn't be there in the last 5. And that the players should decide the game. Did it occur to anybody who has this argument that the players are deciding the game? That a player fouling another player is deciding the game? It's not about street ball in the last 5 minutes of a game or overtime. If a player fouls somebody, he is actually deciding the game, and thus the referee should call it because it's part of the game. I have a real problem if somebody all of a sudden doesn't want something called because they want the players to decide it. Well, again, the player is deciding it by fouling somebody late in the game. If someone goes for a shot with 2 seconds left and is absolutely destroyed, hit as hard as possible and goes to the ground, we shouldn't call that? I don't understand the mentality. It's part of the game. There are still rules in place. Don't get me wrong, I do know officials aren't, with 2 seconds left, in the mood to call a foul because it can have such a dramatic influence. They know the scenario, But to tell them not to call it, to swallow the whistle, seems, well, absurd. Of course they should foul or call the foul, because it's part of the game. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? We shouldn't be asking officials to not call things in the last 2 to whatever minutes because you want the players to decide a game when the players are fouling, which is deciding the game. Do you understand? I don't like how people want referees to disappear. Referees, good, bad, indifferent, are there for the entire game just like the players are. They're going to call the entire game just like the players are. This kind of came up because if anyone saw it, one of the best games I have called, one of the best games I have watched in years, took place at the D3Hoops.com Classic on day number 3. It was the second to last game of the day of 6. It's a bit of a blur. We called 18 games in 4 days. But it was between Whitman and number 1 Stevens Point. Now, Stevens Point had faced their real first battle, I would say, in Whitworth the night before. Whitworth went about 34 minutes before foul trouble got to their best players, and they couldn't stay with Stevens Point. Late in the game, the score was not indicative of how good Whitworth played in that one. I hope some top 25 voters realize that too. The score looked like a blowout. It wasn't. The next night, Stevens Point took on Whitman, and Whitman played a fantastic game. And believe it or not, in the second half, with about a minute left, we had 7 total fouls. Both teams had understood how the refs were calling it. Both teams played outstanding defense. Granted, Whitman was in a zone, but Whitman was really extended in that zone. And Stevens Point was playing some of the best man-to-man defense as a team I have seen in a long time. Not a lot of fouls, even though Whitman was taking it to them. They played smart. In overtime, with Whitman trailing by 2, Coach Bridgeland at Whitman did not like the fact of a non-call on the previous offensive possession, said a few bonus words, as it were, and got teed up by a ref. He lost a gasket, and 15 seconds later got his second tee. The second tee was obvious. The first tee I didn't see, but from what I was told by the officiating crew later, he used 2 bonus words, which is bad in any stretch of the imagination. Apparently a lot of fans didn't want that to be called. I don't agree. Decorum is decorum. Rules are rules. You don't sit there and ignore a ref lambasting, or I should say a coach lambasting a ref just because there's 42 seconds left to go in overtime. Everybody, without earphones like myself, can hear the coach. Sets kind of a bad precedent, wouldn't you agree? But remember, Coach Bridgeland made the comment. Now, everybody says, well, the ref should have swallowed his whistle so the players on the court could have decided the game. Well, the coach is part of the game. The players on the bench are part of the game. The referees are refereeing the game. Why should we ignore what a coach says? No matter how angry or whatever the case may be. I just have a problem with people assuming that late in a game we can swallow a whistle and ignore it, and ignore other things, and pretend stuff isn't happening, or turn a blind eye in the sake of letting the guys decide the game. So now hand checks don't matter. And what else doesn't matter? Blocking charges and swearing and cursing and getting in people's face. And stop it. The end of a game is just as important at the beginning of the game. It's just as important as 5 minutes into a game. It's just as important as right before halftime and after halftime. The end of the game should be officiated the same way the entire game is officiated. And to expect the players to decide the game means swallow the whistle and let's go play street ball is absurd. Stop it. This is how this game is called, and this is how a game is officiated. You would not expect a strike zone to shrink or expand all of a sudden in the 9th inning. If all of a sudden the umpire wants to get out of Dodge and his strike zone increases by 2 feet to either side, would you consider that fair? Is that the players deciding the game? In football, pass interference, granted on Hail Marys, tends to be ignored, but a pass interference shouldn't be ignored when it's pretty grotesque, should it? No. Referees shouldn't swallow the whistle. Maybe I'm naive in some cases, but I've been covering sports for a really long time, and it drives me nuts that all of a sudden late in the game, the referees are supposed to disappear. Why? Someone give me a really good, intelligent reason as to why officials late in the game should just disappear. Remember, if somebody fouls a player, that player who caused the foul is also deciding the game. Just my 2 cents on a Hoopsville rant. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We will take a break, and when we come back, we'll go down to Atlanta, Georgia, and talk to Emory women's basketball coach Christy Thomaskutty. Hope you're enjoying the show. We'll be back with more Hoopsville right after this.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Sorry about that. Commercial went off before I realized it. Anyway, you're watching Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Appreciate you taking the time to join us here on our first Sunday show of the season. We got about 30 minutes left. Just got finished with a rant. Already one person on Twitter actually agreeing with me, and I certainly appreciate that person taking the time to do so. If you want to join us on Twitter, at D3 Hoopsville, or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Also, you can join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville, or join us or email us Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. That's Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com on your email. That's how you can communicate with us. We're going to jump back down in the South region, stay with women's basketball, and joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is Emory women's basketball coach Christy Thomaskutty. Coach, welcome back to Hoopsville.
Thank you so much for having me.
Certainly appreciate you taking the time to do so. Team's off to a terrific start, ranked 13th in the country according to D3Hoops.com, 11-0 on the season, off to the best winning streak in school history, thanks to in part to a win over Johns Hopkins at home, 72-67 just last night. Got to feel good with the way this team has responded, especially to last year's disappointment of not getting as far as they wanted to in the NCAA tournament.
Without a doubt. I mean, we had some huge losses to graduation last year, especially in our post position and leadership. And you know, I give most of the credit to our senior class right now. I think they've done a great job, not only athletically, but they've each kind of embraced their own strengths as a group, and they've done a great job leading this team.
This is a team, you know, you've had some challenges. You stayed a little bit local this year, though. Oglethorpe, LaGrange, Maryville. By the way, Oglethorpe, yeah, somewhat local. Sewanee, Barry, Bridgewater. You played some games down in Florida against Bridgewater and Randolph and Piedmont. It kind of helped you kind of get going, though. You've had a lot of close games as much as you've had some blowouts. How has that kind of ebbed and flowed for the team?
You know, I think any coach would love to win easy every night, but Unfortunately, we haven't played. I still don't think we've played 40 minutes of consistent basketball yet. But the thing I'm most proud of, and especially even yesterday, had some injuries, had some players missing right now, and just couldn't have been more proud of my team in the way we found a way to win. And same way at Piedmont, found a way to win against Berry, against Maryville. Really close games, but it's been different players each night, and it's been a different kind of way we've won. And with that, I think that can only help us moving forward into UAA play.
Talking to Coach Christy Thomaskutty. That's a little bit of a mouthful, but I enjoy it. Talking from Emory women's basketball, the team is number 13, as we mentioned, 11-0 on the start of the season. Coach, this is a team who last year, 24-4, losing a tough game against Whitman all the way up at Williams. It was the two furthest traveled teams. It was a heck of a battle between you guys on that Sweet 16 game, coming right down to the wire. I know it was a disappointment, but how much did that team learn from that?
I think anytime you get postseason play, it's a huge confidence boost for a player, and I think it's definitely meant for our program. I think just to have to focus on the now, and we talk about that a lot as coaches, and this team especially, we've talked about, like, the only thing we control is the now, and when you're in postseason play, there is no next game. It's only this game. It's only this possession, and I think that lesson was really a great one that we learned and we embraced throughout the postseason run. And unfortunately, we just came up short to a very good team.
Yeah, it was a heck of a battle to say the least. This team's come a long way. 24-4 last year, 18-7 the year before that. Before that, going backwards, 11-14, 10-15, 13-12, 14-11, 10-15, kind of stuck in the middle of the UAA. Come a long way in just a few quick years with this program. What's been the secret for you guys?
I don't know if it's a secret. I think it's the senior class that we have. When they came in as freshmen, we knew they were a really talented group from a lot of different positions, and the way they stayed together and they gelled. Because I think if you asked them their freshman year, they were disappointed. And, I think I was probably the only one who was realistic that, hey, we're really relying on a lot of freshmen. We played one senior that year, and everyone else was a newcomer. And maybe we weren't realistic with the expectations as freshmen coming in, but I think that we learned so much, and each year we've continued to improve. And, I think our players as individuals has improved, and then obviously as a program we've improved each year.
You mentioned the seniors. If my count is right, you have 6 seniors on this squad. 4 of your top 5 leading scorers are seniors. You're led by Savannah Morgan, 16.3 points a game, 3.5 rebounds a game, shoots an impressive 47% from the floor, 41% from deep. Nearly 15 points a game from Hannah Lilly, another senior. She's hauling in about 4.5 rebounds a game. Also shoots extremely well from the floor, 42% and 49% from the beyond the arc. 12.5 points from Selena Castillo, another senior on the squad, 5 rebounds a game. She shoots pretty nicely from the floor. And then you get to Shelly Canute,
yes.
Canute, who's playing well for you, and then another senior in Gabby Whitmer. It certainly seems like those 4 seniors, and at least those top 3, Morgan, Lily, Castillo, are the catalyst of this program. What are they bringing to the table? What are the unsung heroes bringing to the table?
Well, I think, what our senior guards are bringing to the table is what we've needed. They're playing like seniors right now, and that's been huge for us as we've got young post players or post players, who didn't play a lot a year ago, playing behind 2 senior guards, and they've been steady for us. Every night, every day in practice, they bring it, as I talk about. They've had great leadership. Their preparation for practice and games has been fabulous. They've just been great role models for our younger players. The unsung heroes, we don't win against a very good John Hopkins team yesterday without our post play. And that's been so much of the unsung heroes for us this year. They're doing their jobs. They're going out there and they're playing in the low post. They're banging, they're being as physical as they can, and they're rebounding. And I don't think they're trying to do too much. They're letting the game come to them, and they're taking what the opponent gives them, and they're doing a fabulous job. And I can't say enough about our freshmen. They've come in, and we have 4 sophomores. We have no juniors, with seniors, and 6 freshmen. And that's probably the thing I'm most proud about as a coach right now. Is our chemistry's fabulous. You know, to have the two bookends like we do in terms of classes, they've just gelled so well, and our freshmen they want to meet the seniors' expectations, and that's a great thing in this program right now.
But is there also an element of this is the year to take advantage of?
Without a doubt. I mean, I am so blessed to have 3 veteran starting guards, you know, and they kind of stir the pot for us, to say the least. And they've allowed us to go through some mistakes, allowed our freshmen to get experience, whether, you know, they're not playing perfectly. Their effort's been great. They're not playing perfectly. You know, our post play, as we talked about, has been a little bit inexperienced, and they've been given time to keep playing through their mistakes. And, you know, we've been very fortunate to have those 3 guards.
I'm talking to Coach Christy Thomaskutty of Emory. The team off to a terrific start this season, 11-0. Record for wins. How much has that kind of settled in? Is the winning streak's 11 in a row here?
You know, I don't know. We haven't talked about it. I don't know if my players are or not. I think for us, we're really excited about UAA play. We're really excited. I mean, we were excited against John Hopkins because we thought the respect we have for John Hopkins is that they could be a UAA team.
Well, they used to be a few years back.
Right. You know, they get great post play. They get great guard play, athleticism. They've got shooters, really physical down low. And so, you know, especially going against a Rochester team this coming weekend, we thought it was going to be a great introduction to us about how we've got to raise our level of play, and really pleased about last night's performance in that regard. So win streak or not, it was just the next game. And now, obviously, you know, we've got a very formidable opponent coming to town this Saturday in Rochester.
I was going to say, we get into the UAA schedule here. You'll play your travel partner, as it were, but I always laugh that Rochester and Emory are travel partners. But you are. You'll play them on Saturday to get things going here, and then it's Carnegie Mellon and Case Western, so you get to start 3 in a row here at home before you'll do the New York NYU Brandeis switch, and then the Chicago WashU switch, and then the Chicago WashU game, Carnegie Mellon, et cetera, as you round things out here. Rochester not having as great a season as they normally have, at least on paper, at 5-4. Carnegie Mellon is in the pack at 8-2 right now, certainly off to a good start. Case Western Reserve 6-5. But it's you guys, NYU and WashU right now, who are playing extremely good basketball. How tough is this UAA, or is it different this year than you're used to?
Well, I haven't played a game yet. That's
right.
A tough question for me, but, you know, just watching the scores, first of all, I just have so much respect for the coaches in the UAA. I think everyone's done a great job recruiting. They've done a great job raising the level of talent in this league. You can't say enough about Wash. You know, they've got everyone coming back, and so in some ways I feel like we're all chasing them and the consistency of that program. I think Chicago's very good. I don't think their record indicates just how good they're going to be with all the returning players, because they had a lot of injuries a year ago. Mm-hmm. You know, Rochester, I throw their record out the window. I mean, I think Jim does a fabulous job with that program. Their post play, and their, you know, Zawicki, you know, is preseason All-American. They've got all the tools, and I haven't seen film yet. I'm kind of scared to. So I know it's going to be a very formidable first couple of games for us. Carnegie's doing a fabulous job. And you know, Case, I think you got to throw the record out there too. A really young team, lost a lot to graduation, and I think they've just gotten better and better as the season's progressed so far.
You talk about recruiting. You know, UAA certainly recruits from a wide area. You recruit from a huge area. Of the 17 players on your roster, they come from 13 different states, as far away as Washington, up in the New England as well. That's a huge recruiting window, especially for your assistants to try and scout, yourselves to try and figure out. How does that work?
Well, I think I have a fabulous staff. I mean, Catherine Menendez and Misha Jackson and Kim Coleman and Jess Davis do a fabulous job of recruiting high-caliber, academically-minded, but talented basketball players. And, you know, I think for us in UAA, with the academic standards, we have to cast that broad net. And we've just been really fortunate. It's not like we try to go out and hit every state. At the same time, I think it's a great thing for our students, for our team, because they learn a little bit more about different parts of the country. And, you know, for us, we're just trying to get the best players. We're just trying to get a little bit better every year, every possession, because, you know, until we win a national championship, we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's always interesting looking at the UAA landscape, and obviously you haven't gotten into it, but it always recruits from wide ranges of areas, and certainly has good basketball. Nancy Fay at WashU, is in the fray here. NYU yourself certainly off to a good start. We're looking forward to seeing how the season progresses. I've asked this from a couple of coaches because it is that time of year where things have settled in, but at the same time, coaches are always working on something new. When you look at this squad, what does this squad need to do to improve from the out of conference into conference play, which you pretty much starting Saturday. That's all you face.
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret. I mean, we want to keep looking to turn things over, but I think the glaring weakness of our team as a whole is just our rebounding right now. We've been pretty inconsistent. Some nights we do a great job crashing the glass, and other nights we've been a little bit off, and so we just need to be tireless in our pursuit of the ball. And I'll have a lot of sleepless nights as I prepare for our UAA opponents, because I think that's a strength of our league.
11-0 in the season. We'll start conference play against Rochester. That game at home to start the UAA season on the 11th, so a week from yesterday, I should say. Another big win against Johns Hopkins. Certainly off to a good start, Coach. Certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to say to those who may be tuning in?
I just appreciate everything you guys do for Division III, both men's and women's basketball, and it's been a great honor to be on tonight.
Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time. It's a lot easier to do the show, especially when coaches are able to join us. Good luck. Enjoy the weather down in Atlanta. Certainly enjoyed, by the way, visiting the campus when I was down there for the Final Four. You guys have a great facility, and I'm sure you guys love playing in it.
We do. We're very lucky. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Anytime.
Thank you. Good luck. Take care.
Thank you.
Coach Christy Thomaskutty joining us here from Emory. Again, the 13th ranked team. We'll see where they are ranked tomorrow as the new Top 25 comes out. As Hoopsville starts at Sunday, the new Top 25 comes back from its break as well. They are 11-0 on the season. A lot of close games, as it were, for them distance-wise. Really didn't travel very far. That travel will change, but not for another 19 days when they'll finally take off and travel to NYU and Brandeis. That will be their first big road trip of the season. Their next road trip of the season will be 2 weeks later, Chicago at WashU, followed by Carnegie Mellon at Case Western. The rest of the season, though, is at home for the Emory Eagles. Going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk back into men's basketball and talk to men's basketball coach Kyle Brumett at Defiance. Really interesting situation, what's going on at Defiance, considering the conference. The school team's off to a pretty good start. We'll see how they're doing in conference play, the HCAC this year. Rather interesting. We'll talk Midwest basketball with Defiance coming up here on Hoopsville. Don't forget, join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Also join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. You can also email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. And when we come back, we'll jump back into men's basketball to wrap up the show. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus.
I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday evening as we're wrapping up the show here. We will go a little bit into overtime here on the opening show, but not because we didn't stay on time for the most part. I want to thank our guests so far that we've had. We'll wrap that up soon. Don't forget, Sundays and Thursdays from now till we crown champions here on Hoopsville, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Couple notes, we will have a special show coming up in January, maybe an all-day show, believe it or not. We're working on those details, and hopefully this week we will announce that, so you'll want to tune into that. Also, we'll have our usual Selection Sunday show coming up in late February, and we'll have our Matchup Monday show as well this season. That's all coming up. Those are the special shows along with the Thursday and Sunday routine, as it were. We're not going to jump back to the Hoopsville hotline, and joining us there is Defiance men's basketball coach Kyle Brumett joining us here. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. Looking at a team that's 8-3 on the season, 3-1 in the conference, thanks in part to the loss to Hanover, and I hate to say this the hard way, but losing 3 of the last 4 on the season, though Oakland was a non-Division III school, beat Albion by 2, lost to a good Ohio Wesleyan team by 13, and then Hanover tripped you up at their place by 4. But outside of that, the season's certainly off to a good start with some good wins in there as well, including Ohio Northern and Transylvania, I should say, easily. How's the season in your point of view, though?
Well, we got off to a great start. You know, as you mentioned, we were 7-0 pre-Christmas, and we came back from Christmas and really challenged ourselves. You know, the Division I game at Oakland was a exciting opportunity for our guys. Greg Campy, the coach at Oakland, is originally from Defiance, so he has been a really good friend to me since I got here, and you know, it's just one of those opportunities that the players don't get every year, and you don't want to pass up. But it was challenging. We came back the day after Christmas and played them the next day, and that was one of those games that we didn't schedule until really late. And on top of that, I had put together a really challenging tournament at our place. We've hosted a purple and gold tournament. This was the 39th year, and had a great field. We opened with Albion College, who has an outstanding program, and then in the first game, it was Marietta and Ohio Wesleyan, who both were in the NCAA tournament a year ago. So, you know, we wanted to test ourselves, and you know, obviously, we didn't like everything that we learned over the last 4 games, but you know, we're definitely improving, and these games are going to help us improve, and we are off to a good start. So,
talking to Coach Brumett here of Defiance. Of course, Coach, you know, the start certainly got you guys a lot of national attention, to be sure. At the same time, you know, your team is entering this HCAC schedule with a lot of, oh, hey, look, this has changed the landscape a little bit. From your point of view, how much has it changed the landscape? How much is this HCAC maybe different than how we've been looking at it for years?
Well, you know, I've been familiar with the HCAC since it was the ICAC. I played at Hanover myself. And, you know, it's been some really good teams with really good coaches. And I think probably the thing that maybe has defined our league, at least for the 6 years I've been back or here in Defiance, is just the depth. You know, we may not have had, you know, a top 10 or a top 5 team, but it's been really challenging night in and night out. And I see this year being very similar to that. You know, in 2009, 2010, we were able to win the conference tournament, and ourselves and Anderson made it. And I believe it was the year before that, or definitely since then, we've had 2 teams in the tournament each year. Mm-hmm. It hasn't always been the same, but Transylvania's kind of been consistently near the top, and Hanover, Rose-Hulman, you know, have been up there with them the last few years. And we've tried to build a program that you know, mirrored some of the things that they were having success with, and fit who we are to get back to where we were in 2009, 2010.
Yeah, you're talking about Transylvania, of course, having a rough season. Coach Brian Lane will be the first one to tell you, 3-8 on the year. Of course, Rose-Hulman still in the fray, 8-3. Hanover 7-4. It's a log jam to start the season. Yourselves, Rose-Hulman, Hanover, Mount St. Joseph, and Franklin all starting 3-1 on the season. Bluffton's 2-2. Then it's Transylvania, Earlham, Anderson at 1-3, and Manchester at 0-4. You look at this season, obviously Hanover trips you guys up. You got Anderson, Rose-Hulman, and Bluffton, the next three all at home. How important is this stretch? How important is it to keep playing well in this conference after that 3-1 start?
Oh, it's extremely important. One of the interesting things about the teams that you just mentioned that are logjam at the top, 3 of the 4 head coaches, myself, John Miller at Hanover, and Toby Kerrigan at Mount St. Joe, we all were at Hanover at the same time. We all played for Coach Beitzel. And, we're all competitive, but we all also know that it's a long season. Yeah. And I spoke with Coach Beitzel last night, and, he quickly reminded me that you got to take care of your business at home, and you got to, find your spots on the road. That wasn't necessarily what I wanted to hear after a tough loss at Hanover, but, historically,
to your teammate,
he's right. Yeah, that's right. Historically, he's right. And, so this stretch is really important for us. 3 games at home. If we want to keep pace, you got to win those home games. Anderson will be an opportunity for us to kind of work on a few things in the next few days that we haven't done particularly well against Ohio Wesleyan and Hanover, and then try to put them in action and get back on a winning track. And then Rose-Hulman is a challenge. We're somewhat built similarly. We're a defensive-oriented team. We're a little bit more motion offensively this year than my teams have been in the past. And Coach Shaw at Rose is a very good defensive coach and does a great job with his team's motion. So, it's a tough stretch, but it's an important stretch for us, as you mentioned, and I expect our guys will rise to the challenge.
You talk about that Anderson game, a team who's 1-10 overall right now, followed by that game against Rose-Hulman, who's 8-3. You talk about a different dynamics that you've got to get your team ready for. Nothing against Anderson, but it's almost a, hey, don't look past Anderson type of game. It can be that proverbial trap, but then making sure you play well because you don't want to play badly and go into Rose-Hulman kind of in a funk. It's an interesting double games here, followed by Bluffton, who's mid-pack.
Yeah, and it's not exactly obviously how we would draw it up. I mean, coming off a loss, but I think that helps. Anderson coming off of a win. Yeah. So, I think my guys, they'll have Anderson will have their attention. A lot of it is about us trying to play a little bit better. I was listening to Coach Thomaskutty right before, and she was talking about, just some inconsistencies that she's trying to shore up. And I think that hit home when I heard her talk about that, because even though we got off to a good start, since Christmas, even in the Division I game, we've just had some inconsistencies that had not plagued us pre-Christmas. And, those are not quite being physical enough defensively, which we were priding ourselves on, and not shooting the ball well. Good shooters being open and just not stepping up and knocking them down. So, those are things that a game like Wednesday at home up here in Northwest Ohio, we're getting dumped on with snow. It's basketball season up here, and, our guys, I think they'll embrace it. I probably won't be the most pleasant guy tomorrow to deal with, but they know what's coming, and we only have one senior, and he's a great player, but I do have a really good core group of juniors, and they've kind of led us from being a 500 team back to where we can prepare and talk about having a chance to win the league.
You talk about that one senior, Ryan Hicks, leading the team with nearly 19 points a game, 7+ rebounds a game, shoots 56% from the floor, 80% free throw shooter for the most part, even second on the hot team in assists. And then you mentioned the juniors. Bernard Edwards, second on the team, over 15 points a game. You've got Travis Shoemaker, 9.6 points a game. Mason Roth, 7.5 points a game, 6 points a game from Wade Woolley. You certainly seem to have a balanced attack in the sense that the seniors leading the way, but everybody else is certainly contributing. You're outscoring your opponents by 6. You're out-rebounding your opponents by 6. You're shooting 46% from the floor, which is certainly a good number, though you guys certainly like to you struggle a little bit on the defensive end in the sense of keeping them from scoring. But when you look at the stat sheets, it tells you one thing. What is it not telling us? What is it not telling us about Ryan Hicks? What's it not telling us about the underclassmen?
Well, Travis Shoemaker and Mason Roth are juniors that were captains as sophomores. And, we were prepping them as freshmen. Like I had mentioned, we had a really good team in 2009, 2010. We had 6 seniors that year, and 3 of them have gone on to be Division III full-time assistants. So there was basketball in our blood that year. And we had a stretch where we just weren't that way. And Shoemaker and Roth have kind of brought that identity back to the table. Ryan was a great high school player. He's probably the top recruit that we've been able to get since I've been here at Defiance. And he's kind of had an up and down career, and he's capping it off with, how you want a senior to play. He's extremely competitive, as are those 2 juniors. I think the thing maybe the stat sheet doesn't tell you is that we're a blue-collar group, and the stats might not always be pretty, but, we're trying to find ways to gut it out. And, that might have been the thing that was most disappointing, on Saturday at Hanover, is that we didn't feel like we were as gritty as we had been, even in the loss to Ohio Wesleyan and a somewhat close loss at Oakland. We had it single digits late in the first half and led through the first 3 medias. So, even though we've lost 3 of the last 4, we've played well in stretches. We just need to be a little bit more consistent, and I think this home stretch might allow us to do that.
Of course, the team's technically in the Midwest region, though you're located in the upper northwest of Ohio. Of course, you'll move to the Great Lakes region next year in the sense of regional rankings. How is that going to play, you think, for the HCAC? Currently and in the past, you're up against the CCIWs and the like in the sense of being regionally ranked. The good UAA squads in Chicago and WashU. Now you jump into the Great Lakes where you're really more better positioned, at least geographically, and you'll face off now with the OAC and the NCAC and some really good conferences in the Great Lakes. Is this a game changer for the HCAC?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a game changer. I mean, if you go down the line with the teams in the CCIW and the UAA that you mentioned, you're probably going to fall in a somewhat similar position when you start looking at the top teams in the NCAC and the top teams in the OAC. I think the thing that it may benefit us, Defiance particularly, is people are going to see us play those teams in non-conference more so.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be able to see some crossover, with us playing some regular non-conference games year in and year out with the NCAC teams or the OAC teams.
Mm-hmm.
We play Ohio Northern every year. It's a great rivalry game. We're less than an hour apart.
Yeah.
We've played Ohio Wesleyan quite often. They were obviously just in our tournament. We think we're going to have them back in our tournament again. So I think that part of it is going to help us as far as where do we stand? How do we stand up to those teams? Because the CCIW, it's difficult to get from here to there.
Yeah.
We might be able to find one of those teams in a tip-off tournament or something like that.
Sure.
But it's not a year-in and year-out thing. So I think it's definitely going to be a positive for us from a regional rankings or a national attention. I think it'll be more difficult maybe for others in our league, like Rose-Hulman, that it is easier for them to get to the CCIW. Or, Transylvania not quite as easy to get, to maybe Ohio as some of the teams in the South or what have you. So, I think overall for our league, it will be just moving, competing against one really good group of teams to another. But I do feel like it may help us, in the long run.
Wrapping things up here with Coach Kyle Brumett of Defiance. Team's 8-3 on the season, sitting on top in a three-way tie for the conference lead at 3-1. Coach, appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the show, and I should say it's a five-way tie at 3-1 on top of the HCAC. Obviously coming up next, Anderson at home on Wednesday, followed by Rose-Hulman next Saturday, and Bluffton the following Wednesday, all at home. Certainly during this time of year when travel's a bear in the weather, it's nice to have home games, and I'm sure you don't want any delays either.
Home games are great no matter what time of year, Dave.
Yeah, that's true. Well, hey, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Certainly going to look forward to following the Yellow Jackets and the rest of the HCAC this season. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with us as you join us here on Hoopsville? I think for the first time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, I just really appreciate what you do for Division III athletics. It's kind of been the way I was brought up, and as a young player, and I know my players do this, they follow D3 hoops and they pay attention to these things. And, just what you do for small college athletics is great. And we appreciate being a part of it. And hopefully we will continue to play well and maybe have an opportunity to do it again sometime.
Well, absolutely appreciate the kind words and looking forward to seeing you guys. I mean, great turnaround from the last few years, obviously 16-11 last year, but looking forward to maybe those years of 09-10 at 23 wins and previously when you nearly hit 20 a few times. So looking forward to the rest of the way. Good luck, and I'm sure we'll talk down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dave.
All right, Coach. Take care.
Bye.
Coach Kyle Brumett joining us here from Defiance. The Yellow Jackets again 8-3 overall, 3-1 in conference play. We'll continue conference play here shortly with Anderson, Rose-Hulman, and Bluffton at home. Appreciate him taking the time to join us here on Hoopsville. A couple little housekeeping notes. Let's look at the top 25 a little bit. Remember, we get a new top 25 for the first time since December 16th tomorrow on both the women's and men's side. On the women's side, DePaul still rolling through teams. They are now 12-0. They had no challenges in the holiday. Alma they beat by 30. Ithaca, the number 18 team in the country, they beat 65-47. Allegheny 73-56 and Hiram 87-52. There's a poll on d3hoops.com of when they might lose next. And I think, if my memory serves, the questions are during conference schedule, in the conference tournament, early in the NCAA tournament round, in the Final Four, or sometime next season. That answer is the one that's leading the way at 34%. Conference schedule is second. Final Four is second at 76%. Conference schedule is 22%. Early in the NCAA rounds is at 12%, and conference tournament is 3%. Interesting. People think they might lose in the conference schedule more than they think they'll lose in the conference tournament. But DePaul women steamrolling right now. Remember the defending national champs who were undefeated last year. They are, something like 42-0 now in the last 2 years. I don't know exactly. Well, I can't remember their schedule last season off the top of my head. Actually, I can call it up. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can call it up here. So they were 34-0 last season. They're now 12-0. So they are 46-0 in the last two seasons. And if you go back to the previous season when they were 27-2, they are 73-2 in the last three seasons. That is just epic proportions. Ranks right up there with Wash U. Remember their straight run of undefeated seasons. Wash U sitting number 2. They had no problems. Really, the only thing that jumps out of me on the women's top 25, Whitewater lost 2 of the 4 games they played in the holiday break. They lost to Carthage, and it wasn't close, and I was at that game, and Carthage just dismantled Whitewater. They then lost to Ohio Northern by 1, and it was a game that Whitewater just struggled to seem to find their form. They're really struggling a little bit, I think, in that sense. They responded with a win over River Falls. I should say they played 3 games So 2 of the 3 losses, and of course I was there for 2 of them. Just interesting. The other thing that jumps out to me, a team like Ithaca lost to DePaul. They also lost to Hartwick. Hartwick playing well at 8-2 on the season. Carthage had lost to Co before the D3Hoops.com Classic. Rhodes lost to Ferrum, their first loss of the season. Randolph-Macon lost to TCNJ. Stevens Point lost to York. That was a big loss. Certainly grabbed some attention. York, number 19 in the country. Lost that one at York. It's almost wish I wasn't at the D3Hoops.com Classic. I would have been at York instead. Vassar lost to Amherst and Gwinnett Mercy in Las Vegas at a different tournament. That's a tough bite for Vassar. So some interesting things jumping out of me on the women's top 25 poll. On the men's side of things, not almost as quiet. We mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, Worcester lost to an NAI school. Very interesting to see as they take their first loss, but not in Division III, how the voters will react to that. Amherst lost another one that was 105-101 to Nova Southeastern. Again, non-Division III school there. How do everybody kind of react to that? St. Thomas lost to Stevens Point by 13 before the break. Or before the holiday break. It's not a bad loss if you're St. Thomas. Virginia Wesleyan lost to Mary Washington. Marietta lost to Ohio Wesleyan. Calvin lost to Claremont Mudd Scripps by 16, 66-50. That game, I think, is going to raise a lot of questions if you're a top 25 voter. I think it raises a lot of questions if you're a Calvin fan. I'm not saying Claremont Mudd Scripps is not good, but you head out west, you beat Redlands by 6, 88-82, and then lose to CMS 66-50. That doesn't look good. Guilford lost 3 of the last 4, 3 pretty much straight. Dickinson, Birmingham Southern, Messiah. Nothing to knock on Dickinson and Messiah there. They are off to terrific seasons this year. Guilford lost by 15 to Dickinson. They lost by 16 to Birmingham Southern, and they lost by 10 to Messiah. In other words, they weren't close. Say goodbye to Guilford in the top 25. Middlebury losing to Salve, Virginia. A lot of questions are going to come up with that. Wesley ended up having a quiet week or off season because the Cabrini game was postponed. Eastern Connecticut losing to both North Central and Carthage. Interesting. Wheaton losing to Wash U. Not the end of the world. Colorado College losing to Babson in overtime. The game, the line though that jumps out at me that aren't losses is Williams. They're 10-1 in the season. They come back from break. They beat Washington College at Washington and Lee, but it was by 8. They then beat Washington and Lee by 2, and then they beat Hampden-Sydney on the road by 2. I know they traveled for all of these games. Washington College is always a tough team, but more at home, so a loss or win by 8 raises questions. W&L barely beat them by 2, and Hampden-Sydney's getting votes, but has shown inconsistency, and you barely beat them by 2. I wonder, and I as a top 25 voter am thinking this too, I wonder if Williams falls because the games aren't that impressive with how they did this season. I'm really curious to see how the voters tackle Williams after this break. I know I am even considering, I have Williams 4th in my top 25. Let me look here real quick. I have Stevens Point, Illinois Wesleyan, Williams, Cabrini, Worcester. I'd hate to tell you, but I would be more than happy to move Cabrini ahead of Williams right now because of that. 3 games there. I'm not impressed with Williams. I then go Worcester, Amherst, St. Thomas, WPI, Calvin, Whitewater. Calvin's out of my top 10 because of that loss to CMS. I'm not sure I punished St. Thomas all that much at all. So really interesting vote here for the voters who have had a couple weeks to digest the season. We'll see how they decide. I vote on the men's side, don't vote on the women's side, but both top 25s will come out tomorrow. We're going to wrap things up here on our first Sunday show of the season. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. A couple quick notes. Remember, we got a special show coming up later in January. We're working on the details. We will release that information probably before the next show on Hoopsville, but we'll talk more about it on Thursday when we get back on the air, but please look out for that. Also, we're on Sundays and Thursdays now, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, though as you can tell, it's 9:12 on the East Coast. On Sundays, we cover the Northeast, the Atlantic, the South, the Midwest/Central. We're going to start calling it the Central region, since next year the Midwest men will be called Central. Also, our Coach's Corner. Thursdays, Great Lakes West, Mid-Atlantic, and East regions. We also have our School of the Week. If you'd like to mention a school that you think should be on Hoopsville, please let us know. Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Tweet us at D3Hoopsville or using the hashtag Hoopsville. And you can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. We also have a page on the post-up boards. Find it under General Basketball. Please nominate a school you think we should be talking to. Nominate a school you think should be School of the Week. School of the Week nominees should be schools that we don't normally talk to. A Defiance would have fit that role a little bit, or has a signature win despite their record. Whitman would have fit that bill if they had beaten Stevens Point. So let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We don't always take every single one of them, but we'll certainly follow and see what we think of your thoughts, and maybe get one of those coaches or even a player on the show. Again, you can email us and tweet us on Facebook us. Again, Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. Hoopsville's Twitter account is at D3Hoopsville, though we really encourage you to use the hashtag Hoopsville, and Facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight from WPI. Chris Bartley, the head coach there. The head coach at Christopher Newport, John Krikorian. A women's basketball coach at Tufts, Carla Berube, and Christy Thomaskutty from Emory on women's basketball, and then Kyle Brumett from the men's basketball side. And by the way, I'll say this now. Bravo to all of you who are women's basketball fans. I will freely admit that women's basketball tends to not draw the numbers we normally have here on Hoopsville, and the men's teams tend to draw our biggest numbers. That was not the case tonight. Both women's coaches outdrew the men's coaches in terms of live listeners. We certainly appreciate that. Lets us know that making sure we focus on these teams is what we should be doing, and it certainly makes it easier for us to make decisions down the road. That's going to do it for Hoopsville. Again, I want to publicly thank the National Association of Basketball Coaches. They are helping contribute to the show, and we will be getting a new broadcast computer, which will hopefully solve this weird video issue we're having tonight. I have no idea what's going on. At least on my end, I'm getting breakup. If it's smooth on your end, then it's just on my end, so whatever. But we'll hopefully be solving some of our computer glitches. This computer is rather old. The NABC helping us solve that problem down the road as well. Emory women's basketball tweeting us. Thank you, D3 Hoopsville, having Coach Scuddy on to discuss our program. Appreciate you all you do for D3 Hoops. Thank you. No, thank you for tuning in, and thank you, your coach, for joining us on the show. Certainly appreciate it. We're going to wrap it up. Again, thanks to NABC and, of course, D3Hoops.com, the presenting sponsors of Hoopsville. Back on the air Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll jump into the Great Lakes, the West. Not actually the Great Lakes, that'd be cold. Jump into the Great Lakes, the West, the Mid-Atlantic, East, and we'll have our School of the Week, plus much, much, much more as we are now into conference action. Primarily for all teams in Division III. This is when the season gets really interesting, and we hope you tune into Hoopsville Sundays and Thursday nights to find out what's happening for your teams, your regions, and across the country as well. Thanks for tuning into Hoopsville, everybody. Good night, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.